little bit about me. I'm a nationally certified condo specialist. My family and I, we moved to South Florida to literally start over in 2012. My husband's Canadian. We were living in Canada. I was a stay-at-home mom. I wasn't working. He was the sole provider, and he had to shut down his business, and we moved in with my in-laws. So one of my first real estate transaction was on the other side. I had to rent my home, which was not a good experience, and we literally had to figure out a way to start over. So I had zero experience with real estate. We had no money. The only money we had was the rent coming in from our house. And I decided, you know what, let's go to South Florida because I knew I could get my real estate license in a month. And with a sparkle in my eye, I figured, well, that would solve our lives. Everything will be perfect. We will make money. And that's what we're going to do. It was really hard to get down here. My husband said, you have 1 year. You have 1 year to figure things out, and then we're going back, to live with his mommy in Canada. So it was kind of a do or die. That expression, burn the boats, that was it. I was not going back to live with my in-laws and back to Canada. So I really had no option. Since then, I have sold hundreds and hundreds of condos. My specialty is oceanfront condos, second residences for people who are relocating here for retirement. Most of my success really, does come from that niche, and we'll talk about that in a little while. But I do sell, investment properties. I do sell single family homes. I do sell new construction. But really, I would say 98% of my business just comes from condo sales. I have marketing strategies that I put together, and the way I run my business and the way I engage with getting listings might be different than most people, and again, all these things will cover. I have customers worldwide. I sold condos to people in Germany. I've sold condos to people all over the United States, Europe, which is great because now I know how, different people from different countries, what their expectations are, and just as people, how they kind of process information, and how it's just different when you have to deal with so many different cultures. I am one of the top referral agents in my market, and I wrote a book called The Truth About Real Estate. So I've been pretty busy, and I've been pretty blessed, and I just want to dive into this because I'm very passionate about what I do. But like I started out saying, I want you to be able to run your business and not have your business run you. I have three actually. I can't even keep up with how many kids I have. I've got three little monsters that are constantly at me. I can't tell you how many contracts I've actually wrote up with my littlest one, who's now 4, sitting on my back at the computer, pulling at me, mommy, 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 wanting to eat or something. I brought my kids to showings with me to show my listings. I brought my kids. In the beginning, I didn't have a car and I didn't have a cell phone, so my husband used to have to drive me to any showings. So it was really hard, but I believe in balance for whatever that means to you. So you should be able to have a life and do the things you love, and then have real estate just fund it all for you. So that's what I feel that condos do for me. So why the condo market? I kind of fell into it like everybody else. I'm assuming the majority of people in this room sell, single family homes. When I got into real estate, that's what I wanted to do. Sell single family homes, and I found myself driving everywhere and kind of just not knowing anything. It was just too big of a space to be a specialist in any one given area. And I ended up working for who was, before me, one of the top agents in my farm area. And I spent 2 years working with him, and he did condos. And then that's kind of how I got into it. It was a blessing that I didn't know. But, things are changing now. We can work remotely. We don't have to go to our offices. People, those people who want to downsize, those baby boomers, now they can do it a little bit earlier. They know that they can spend more time, and they don't want the big house and all the work. Maybe they want to travel more. Also, the condo market can get a lot more property by purchasing a condo. So So for younger couples just starting out, or people who don't want to deal with the maintenance of a house, literally, like I said, I sell vacation condos, but there's just the world is just at your fingertips with what you could actually do. And it's very easy to just bring this niche into your existing business, or just make it something that you also want to specialize in. It also, I find, when you do have a niche, it separates yourself from the rest of the pack. When people think condos, they think Michelle. It kind of goes hand in hand, because that's how I've marketed myself. And condos give you the ability to open doors to people who might not have otherwise been able to own a home. The renters who want to parlay and become homeowners, they can do that. And there's condos that are more affordable than purchasing in a single family home. Also, investments, it's great for investors because they don't have to worry about, taking care of anything. They have the home, we rent it. I do a ton of rentals for my owners, seasonal renters, people who want to come down and just spend 6 months on the ocean. I mean, that is just easy money. It's just pushing paper, and I do all these rentals, and it's wonderful. So there's a lot of opportunity for you in the condo market. Now, steps to become a condo specialist, and I use the word specialist versus expert because I feel the word expert means you know everything that there is to know. I don't know everything that there is to know. I still learn from my transactions, but I'm a specialist. I specialize in the condo market, which to me that means I know more about selling condos than the majority of people. So I'm a specialist. Knowledge, as you all know, is power. Knowledge, when I get my leads coming in on the phone, and I pick up that call from when that other person on the other end, whether they're a buyer or a seller, call me, I can feel the shift as we're talking, because when I first answer, they don't know who I am. But as I start speaking and they know how knowledgeable I am, there's a shift, and I can already start to gain their trust just over the phone. So by knowing your market area and specializing in a specific niche, it will automatically give you credibility when you speak about it, rather than when you have somebody called me and wanted to go look at a new construction somewhere. I'm not going to know it as well as I know what I'm specializing in. Obviously, you want to know everything about the area, the city, the buildings. Just identify yourself with that neighborhood and start off small if you want. As far as sellers go, when dealing with sellers, you just want to know what their problem is. Don't go in there telling them you've done this, you've accomplished that. They don't care. They just want to know you have the answer to whatever problem they're solving, and try to connect on them as soon as possible on a personal level. When I go into my listing presentations, the one thing we talk about the least is their property that they're selling. I don't care. I mean, I could sell a house, I could sell whatever I want. I want to connect with them, and I want them to trust me. So then they listen, and I have their answer, whatever it is. And it's an immediate thing. When you go in there, that first 5 minutes, you really need to set the tone to engage and have them relate to you. And then as far as buyers go, listen to what they want, listen to what their needs are, and don't get on the crazy train. I have been on the crazy train, and it is not fun. So you, being a specialist in a certain area, you know how to guide them really to what it is they're looking for. And as they throw these random properties at you that they want to go and see, you'll be able to say, hey, listen, you specifically said you were looking for an HOA that was under 1,000. Now you're sending me properties where the HOA is 1,200 a month. Or you said it was really, really important to you that you have this view. You want direct ocean. Well, now you're sending me properties that have a view of a parking lot, and it's $300,000 less. Like you're driving the train. Don't let them drive your train. And then, of course, your knowledge provides them with the options. So when I meet buyers, I know exactly what I need to show them. After our initial telephone call, I say I will map out the itinerary. I'll send you listings and, keep them engaged. Like, here, tell me what you like. But at the end of the day, I know what it is that they're looking for more than they even know what they're looking for. And I can even pick the condo that they're going to buy. If we have an itinerary of like 7 or 8 properties to look at, I'll know, like, okay, I know which one you're going to ultimately like because I know what it is you're looking for. So it's so important that you listen, 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 which is one of the things that I have the most. I've worked on it because I'm a talker. You know, I want to talk, 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 and I'm an interrupter. So that was something that I had to struggle with and that I had to overcome. So when you sell condos versus selling single family homes, there's a whole mind shift because I would assume how many of you all live in single family homes? I'm sure the majority of you do, and I'm sure the majority of you sell single family homes. So I just kind of pulled the top items, the top mindsets that you'll need to shift yourself into when you start showing your buyers condos because you don't want this to be a shock for yourself. And I know when I have listing agents who don't really sell condos come into my listings, I mean, they just ask the stupidest questions and make the dumbest comments. Like I mean, it's true. You know what I mean? Like you don't walk into a condo and comment like, "Oh wow, this is really small." Like shush, 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 and then start, there's things that you want your buyer to take the lead and you step back because you're all going to have to shift, especially if your buyers are coming from a big home and they're downsizing. So let's start with that. So the first thing is square footage. When I first moved into my first condo in Toronto, because I lived in Canada, my condo was 540 square feet. I mean, now to you, I'm sure most of you have what? Your pantries or your closets are bigger than that. But it was perfectly fine for me and I loved it. But you need to really understand what a square footage kind of feels like and get acclimated with that space because I've been in condos that are 2,000 square feet, but yet a 1,668 square foot condo has a better floor plan and a better layout. So a lot of my buyers will say, well, we don't want anything under 2,500 square feet. We want this, we want that. But I know my market. So I know a 2,100 square foot condo with a really good floor plan is going to be fine for them. So don't go on the MLS and under living square feet, type in 2,500 because you're going to probably cut out the condo that's going to work best for them. So again, that brings us back to knowledge and knowing your market. 1,668 square foot condo is fabulous for a couple. It's a great size. I've lived in it, but again, it's something that you need to acclimate yourself with because everything's going to be shrunk and your buyers might be coming, from a house with high ceilings and everything kind of spread out, 2 floors. So you need to be familiar so you can get them acclimated and say, no, let's kind of walk around. And as soon as they start talking about furniture placement, just button your lips and stop because let them absorb. They need to absorb the space and process it. And if somebody's just talking, they're not going to be able to go to do that. So as soon as they start talking about, oh, well, the couch and their dining room table, just shut up. Don't talk. Everybody be quiet and make sure the listing agent does the same. Or if they're with the buyer's agent, call them and go to another room because I've had to do that oh, psh, psh, come here because they need to process. A lot of the information I'll tell you really is transferable to everything that you sell, but we're talking about condos. So height, that's another thing. A lot of people, when they first start looking to purchase a condo, they might say, okay, I don't want anything over the 5th floor. You'd be shocked how many people have a fear of heights. So again, this is something that you need to get acclimated to. You need to understand what a 10th floor elevation feels like versus maybe, a 15th floor. And keep in mind, some of the condos, they build the parking garages underneath them. So automatically they're going to be higher. So a 3rd floor is not super low, or even a 1st floor. Some condos, they start on floor 1, but really there's a 2-story parking garage underneath it. So the 1st floor is the 3rd floor. And we all know there's no 13th floors. My kids grew up in condos. They literally count 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14. I'm like, girls, there's a 13, but they don't know it because it's not on the elevator. So you want to acclimate yourself with height, and you need to know what that feels like to be. And I will tell you the sweet spot for most people, buying in condos, especially on the ocean, is right around the 10th floor because you're high enough up where you can see out, you can see where the ocean hits the sand, but you're not so high up. Maybe if you were selling in Manhattan, yes, you want to be higher up so you don't hear the traffic and the noise on the street. So again, that's all going to come into play. But if your buyer says, I won't go above the 7th floor, don't cut yourself off and not show anything because you need to know, well, I know this building is a couple floors higher than you wanted, but keep in mind the way the structure is, it might not feel that way. So height is a huge, huge component as well. Washer dryer. A lot of condos, when they were built, they did not have washer dryers built into them, especially the older ones. And washer dryer seems to be a sticking point with people. Oh, I don't want to wash my clothes with other people's clothes. So that is something that you need to know. However, I know my market. I mean, somebody could just throw out a unit number and a building, and I'll know which way it faces, what the rules and regulations are of that building, if it has a washer dryer, what the restrictions are. But I will tell you, this is another thing that buyers need to get used to. No, I mean, there's very few people that live in a home that don't have their own washer dryer. When we moved down here, we didn't have a washer dryer in our condo. There were seven. It was actually we didn't have any money, like I said, so my mother-in-law owned a condo on Singer Island, so she let us stay there to get things going with real estate for the first year, thank God. And that condo, that building, beautiful building, it did not have a washer dryer in the unit. When my mother-in-law bought the unit, that was a deal breaker for her. But then when she actually saw it, she was able to overcome it. So some buildings will have a washer dryer in the unit. Some buildings will have it on the floor where you have to pay to use it, and others will just have it for free. My building had 2 washers, 2 dryers in a beautiful laundry room. We didn't have to pay extra money for electric bill, from running the dryer. It didn't take up closet space because, as you know, condos are smaller. So when your buyers give this as an obstacle to you, you have answers like, listen, let's go see it. I had buyers I was working with, washer dryer was a deal breaker, but I knew in the East Point building, it's beautiful. They have laundry facilities on every floor. It's a big room, 2 washers, 2 dryers, a big ironing board, a big sink. Like, they bought in that building, and that was a deal breaker, no washer dryer. But I said, let's just go look, because every other thing that you want checks your boxes. And they ended up buying in that condo, and they were able to overcome that obstacle just by me saying, hey, think about this, think about it. It's better to have this than to have, 2 mini washer dryers shoved into one of your closets in your apartment. So this will come into play. And then another big thing is the restrictions. What I would recommend, whether you're selling in a condo building or any HOA community, if you have the listing, you really want to get what the rules and regulations are, especially if you're the listing agent, because you want to know what restrictions are in place. One of the big ones is dogs. Everybody wants to have a dog. A lot of the condos do not allow dogs maybe over 10 pounds. Don't allow dogs over 15 pounds. Maybe they only allow 1 dog. Maybe they don't allow dogs at all. So the last thing you want to do is be out showing property and then find out your buyers have 2 German Shepherds, because so you want to know. And then before you show property, if they do say, hey, listen, we have a 25-pound dog, then you could know, well, you just sent me 4 listings and they don't allow dogs in this community. So that will help you save time. Another thing is, when you're working with investors, they might want to buy something to renovate it and fix it. A lot of the condos have restrictions on when you can do construction. They have quiet periods because the big season for us is like January, February, March. So during those months, you can't do any construction. So I've run into the situation where buyer's agents have brought their clients, and it's November. By the time we close, it's December. And then now they have to carry the property for 3 months and not do work. And then it's like, well, that's and that doesn't work for them. The other thing is rentals. Somebody maybe who wants to rent the property out, there's rental restrictions. Maybe no rentals the first year of ownership. Maybe no rentals. I've got a building, no rentals the first 2 years of ownerships. I had a client wanting to do a 1031 and he had to rent the unit. I'm like, well, these buildings are not going to work. So, like we go back to knowledge, the more you know, the more it will help you better not only educate your buyers, but save your own time. And you can do the same when you have the listings and you're vetting your people before they show up. Go and get in your car and go show the property. Another interesting thing is where in my market is you can't have pickup trucks in some of the buildings. And people are like, I've got an $80,000 pickup truck, but I can't park it in this condo complex, and there's like some shitty $15,000, rusted up Camry. Like, that makes no sense, but it's a rule. And these condos, it's like it's a rule. I'm like, all right, whatever. So you kind of want to know these rules. So the easiest way to do it is to go to the HOA office, and they'll freely hand it to you. They'll give you the HOA application, and they will give you the rules and regulations. When you know what area you want to focus on, that's your first step. Maybe you pick 4 condos that you want to start working in. Go to the office and get all this paperwork. This way you can read it, you have it, and you can be knowledgeable. Number 5 is parking. Most people that live in single family homes, they have a parking garage. In the condos, you might have an assigned parking spot that's outside. You might have a garage parking spot. You might have a parking spot that's very far from the building. And if maybe you have an elderly buyer, that big walk isn't going to work. Because I've sold properties where, I show up with my buyer and I'm like, well, they just bought this last year. And the listing agent is like, yeah, we know. We didn't realize how far the parking spot was to the front door, and it's too hard for them to walk the distance. So you really want to know what the parking spot is, and it's very easy. All you got to do is call the security guard, the office. Property manager will give you the number and have it with you when you go. Even when if you're showing your buyers, you're going to want to, once you make your itinerary, if the listing agent isn't meeting you there, you're going to want to know, because this is going to be really important. And when you have a listing, you want to know where the person's parking. So you want to know, hey, look, the parking spot is right here. It's right by the door. No, look, you've got a prime parking spot right in the parking garage. It's totally protected. So it's just something that you might not have thought to look into, because in a single family home, you pull into your parking garage and then you're all set.